University, which was a little bit different for me because I grew up in all black and Hispanic neighborhood, and when I all black and Hispanic high school, and when I go to college, I was going to a college that was predominantly white. It was only about maybe 70 black people on campus at all. So I grew up in a very different background from when I went to college.
Okay, growing up in Connecticut, who were your role models? Who were your influential people that inspire you to do what you do?
Man, I wanted to be, as a football player, I wanted to be Chuck Foreman. Chuck Foreman played for the Minnesota Vikings. He was a running back. He was one of the big running backs during that time, that era. Chuck Muncie, O.J. Simpson. Well, Chuck Foreman was my guy. And I used to, as a little kid, try to emulate him, take a football, spin around, do my spin moves and things of that nature. So I was always trying to emulate Chuck Foreman. Minnesota Vikings was my team. My brother loves the Miami Dolphins, and I was always the smallest kid. So I was never big. I was always small. I was small in high school. I was a small kid. So I didn't really start playing football, really start playing until I was a junior in high school.
Okay, so other than football, were there any other sports that you played other than just football? Or was it just football?
So Rashad, I'm a wrestler. So I went out for wrestling because wrestling is based on weight classes, and so I could always wrestle somebody that was my size. And so I had no idea that wrestling would teach me so much about football and how to tackle, how to do the tackles they're doing right now, roll tackles so that you get your head out of the hitting circle. So I had no idea that the education of wrestling would prepare me for football. So I did that, and also I played baseball in high school. I wasn't very good. I could field, could never hit really, but I could field the ball pretty well. And so baseball, wrestling, and football were my main sports.
Okay, so other than Colgate, were there other colleges that was like reaching out to recruit you, or was it just like a small amount of colleges that wanted you, to come to their school?
Yeah, it was very small. I was third in my class, so I was a pretty bright kid. And I had applied only to Brown University, Colgate University, and the University of Connecticut because I lived in Connecticut. I got accepted into Connecticut and Colgate. I didn't get accepted into Brown. I went to Colgate because I got an academic scholarship. Like I said, I was third in my class. I was a pretty bright kid, and so because of that, I went to Colgate University. But I didn't really, and I walked on. I wasn't recruited for football. I walked on. I weighed 150 pounds. I was about maybe 5'9" and a half. 150 pounds. And I asked the coach, "Can I come out for football?" And I went out for football at Colgate in 1981, and I made the team. But not only made the team, I made the varsity team.
Okay, so how many the years that you went to Colgate was from what, 1981 to 1984?
Yeah. So the playing years was 81. 84, yeah. Because I graduated in 85.
Okay, so 85, you were undrafted. What was the reason behind that? Was it because you went to Colgate, or they didn't take you seriously?
Yeah, coming from a small school, a 1AA school at the time, it would be considered FCS. Well, now it would be considered FBS now. But coming from a 1AA school, not too many people got drafted. I was a really good corner. / safety, and I didn't get drafted. I got picked as a free agent, but I had good enough numbers so that I had different teams looking at me: Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Seattle, and then I didn't get drafted during that draft that year, which was actually 12 rounds of draft. So I didn't get drafted, but as soon as the draft was over, I got a number of calls from the Giants, Seattle, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys came up on our campus, but I ended up turning down that offer and going to Seattle.
Okay, your coach that you played for in the beginning of your career was it Chuck Knox?
Chuck Knox, yeah,
okay.
Boy, Crown Chuck.
All right, talk about what kind of coach he was to you and as a team as a whole. Like, what kind of coach was he?
I used to think that Coach Knox was a very hard man, but that wasn't the case. And I didn't realize that until after I was done playing ball with him. we had a pretty good team. We had our defense was really noted. We had a couple of receivers who were over one guy ended up being in the Hall of Fame, Steve Largent. Our quarterback at the time was Dave Craig. He was battling with Jim Zorn. Jim Zorn, legendary quarterback. Dave Craig ended up beating him out and becoming that quarterback. But we had a really solid team. But being solid wasn't enough that would propel us in the playoffs. I think in that my whole run from 85 to 95 that I was there, I might have went to the playoffs one time. Prior to that, they went to the playoffs in 83 and 84. Prior to that. So I didn't get a chance to taste Super Bowl, Pro Bowls and any of that stuff in Seattle. I went to a couple of Pro Bowls, but I didn't get to taste that playoff run that most people get a chance to do until I went to Green Bay. When I went to Green Bay, that's when things kind of really turned around as far as, oh man, who is this guy, Eugene Robinson? This guy could actually play. This guy's pretty good. And so that narrative changed around. But when I was in Seattle, that's what people knew of me.
Okay, the two games I want to talk about during your time with Seattle is the 1987 matchup between the Raiders and the Seahawks. Bo Jackson. Brian Bosworth. You talk about that game on Monday Night Football.
Man, shoot, they said Bo knows football. Bo knows, that dude can flat out run. Not only is he so physically dominating, but he's so fast. He was clocked, but I knew that he was clocked at running a 4.18. And then I heard he was clocked at a flying 40 during that run on that 80-yard touchdown run, which I was the first person to get to him, and I tried to push him out of bounds. Well, he put the stiff arm on me, threw me down to the ground. When I hit the ground, Rashad, I looked back up. I said, there's no way that dude could be running that fast. He was about 40 yards down the field by the time I hit the ground, and I looked up, I said, he was about 40 yards away from me. Dude, he was absolutely dominating. And that day, he ended up running through Brian Bosworth. He ended up single-handedly, if you will, beating the crap out of us. And don't forget, they had Marcus Allen, who was also the running back, too. Marcus Allen was the running back before Bo. So they had Marcus Allen and Bo Jackson on that team.
Yeah.
Man, Al Davis had a crew. He had a squad, dude. His squad was no doubt that they could put points on the board. So that game, the things I remember is him running through Brian Bosworth and me trying to push him out of bounds or make a tackle on him because he was eluding our defense, the defensive front and the linebackers. And typically I'm the free safety slash. I'm like the last person. And so I got to make a tackle to slow down Bo Jackson or to slow him up so somebody else can be pursuit. It was a tall task that day. And man, I tell you what, I will never forget him running on that little sweep to my right, his left, hitting the sideline, and my goodness, and running through the tunnel. Bo Jackson was a beast.
Okay, so the second game I want to talk about during your time with Seattle was 1989 when Kansas City played the Seahawks, where Derek Thomas had 7 sacks, and you still won the game. Talk about that game.
Yeah, so Derek Thomas used to play the entire AFC West. For us, it was San Diego Chargers, Seattle Seahawks, Kansas City Chiefs, and then Denver Broncos. That was the AFC West back in the day. And we used to go at it. Well, the most feared dude on defensively in the AFC Conference was Derek Thomas. Derek Thomas was going to go ahead and sack your quarterback, and ain't nothing you're going to be able to do about it. And then they had, in that secondary, they had Lord Morris, they had Albert Lewis, Albert Lewis, Lord Morris, what's the guy who went to Temple University in the play?
Deron Cherry.
Who's that?
Deron Cherry.
They had Deron Cherry, and I forget, the other corner.
Kevin Ross.
I'm going to break. What was it?
Kevin Ross.
Yeah, Ross. Man, that secondary was one of the best secondaries, not only because they were that good, right? And we used to marvel that secondary, but also because Derek Thomas used to absolutely destroy us. He destroyed that. And on that play, the last play, not the last play of the game, but it was the last play that you're talking about on his, should have been his 8th or 9th sack. He comes off the edge. He's about to sack Dave Craig. Dave Craig ducks underneath his sack, goes over the top, rolls out to his left. He spots Paul Scanzi, our receiver, in the end zone. He throws a dart in between two defenders to catch the ball to win the game. I'm telling you, it was absolutely crazy because let me see, of that time too, Christian Okoye was their running back. Christian Okoye was the running back. They had a crew. Barry Word was he was the other running back. So they had a crew. Carlos Carson, Stephon Page. They had a whole crew of dudes. They were just that good. And we ended up stealing one. I don't know how we stole it. We stole one in Kansas City. Because typically, you don't win in Kansas City, man. They just had a crew, fans, all crazy. We had a hard time winning in Kansas City. But we won that day off of Dave Craig. We call him Mudbone. Escaping Derek Thomas for his eighth sack, would have been his eighth sack. God rest Derek Thomas' soul. And Dave Craig threw a touchdown to Paul Scanzi to win the game. And so for us, it was a great, great win that year, but it was a hard win because we typically don't win in Kansas City.
Okay, so you finished, your career with Seahawks 11 years. You go to the Pro Bowl twice. You led the NFL actually with interceptions. 1993. So you go to the Packers. Like, what made you want to sign with the Packers?
So my boy Reggie White called me up, right? So Reggie White and I have been friends for a very, very long time. And so Reggie White called me up on the off season and said, "Hey man, would you like to come to the Packers?" I was like, "Well, Reggie, it doesn't work that way. I just can't go to the Green Bay Packers." He said that's going to be trade. He said, "No, we're talking about a trade." I'm like, "Well," I said, "Seattle hasn't told anything to me. Right now, I'm a Seattle Seahawks." So I said, "Look, I'm a Seattle Seahawks right now, and so that would be great, but it ain't up to me. It's only up to the team." And so I told the team that, hey, Reggie White had called me up and asked me about being traded to Green Bay. And then they told me there was nothing to it. And lo and behold, about 2 weeks later, I was traded to Green Bay. And so from Matt Labonte, they needed a defensive end, Matt Labonte, defensive end, and they traded me. And the reason why they were able to trade me because at that time when Dennis Erickson came on the coach, he picked up one of the safeties who worked with him that he coached down at in Miami was in Cincinnati, and he was a free agent, and he picked up Darrell Williams from Cincinnati, and now we have three top safeties: Darrell Williams, myself, and Robert Blackman. Well, I was an odd man out. That's why they traded me to Green Bay. One of the best things that happened to me because I go to Green Bay, I ended up having like 6 picks, 3 picks in the playoffs. I end up forcing fumbles. And then I end up winning the Super Bowl with that team, and then going to another Super Bowl the next year.
Yeah, get into the 96 season. You go to the playoffs. You have a great season in 96. You led that year in 96. You led the Green Bay Packers. 8 interceptions. You had 55 tackles. I want to talk about the playoff game against the 49ers. You beat them in a blowout. I believe you turned the punt return for a touchdown. Correct from wrong, and you win that game. Talk about that game.
Yeah, beating San Francisco was like it's one of the highlights because first of all, we got the same offense. The Packers run the same offense as the 49ers, so we were all running West Coast offense from Coach Walsh, and our coach was Coach Holgram, who was under Coach Walsh at the time, and so we all ran the exact same thing. There was nothing that was different. So when we look at the plays, and I see the plays, I got an interception in that game. Well, I know that Rick Jones is going to run an end. He's going to run an end cut. I get it because guess what? We run the same play. So when I saw the same things happening, I was like, wow, this is something I remember because every day I saw Brett Favre do the exact same things, plays, in practice. So it was no different. So now, off the film study, all the things that we've done, we just check out the film study and go, okay, they like to do this time. So Leroy Butler and I were typically always on the same page. He's a better blitzer than I am, so I had a blitz. I was always going to stay in coverage. The play that you're talking about, the interception, Roy was blitzing, put pressure on Steve Young. I get the interception. After I get the interception, later on, that same drive after the interception, I believe it was Antonio Freeman. It was he runs a slant route for a touchdown. The Brett Favre threw. But playing San Fran has always been a problem because they're so dang good and they're so dang solid and they rarely make mistakes. And we knew that as a team, we couldn't make mistakes. Now, don't forget, we rocking with Reggie White. Our front is Gilbert Brown. Our front is Santana Dotson. Man, we got Sean Jones. We got some cats up there who can eat. We got some cats who gonna put some pressure on you. So we know that we got our boys who gonna ball, and then our linebackers a little bit nondescript. You don't know them, but Brian Williams, Coons, Bernardo Harris, Wade Simmons. We had linebackers that most people didn't know that were just really, really good, solid, good linebackers that fly to the ball. And most people know our secondary, not our secondary, but Leroy Ball. That's about it. But other than that, our defensive front will always put so much pressure on you. Man, you better get rid of that ball. You ain't got no time. And so I know I'm a little bit long-winded as I'm describing this stuff and talking about it, but man, we just had a really good defense that was just solid all through those years I played there. They were just that good. And then offensively, it was just a great compliment. Our offense put up so many points that if we held people to about 10 points, 15 points, our offense we knew they could score at least 24 points to win a game.
Yeah, Desmond Howard run back a punt return in that game for a touchdown.
Say that again?
No, Desmond Howard, did he run back a punt return for a touchdown in that game?
He ran back a punt return.
He did, okay, for a touchdown. Yeah. Okay. All right.
And he was a beast. And he was the unsung hero that most people don't realize, even when we look at the first Super Bowl. But when we look at the special teams contribution, if it wasn't for our special teams and Desmond, I mean, Super Bowls would be very, very different. And winning championships would be very different. The production we got out of Desmond Howard from the standpoint of punt returns and kickoff returns was every bit as saying Devin Hester's name or saying Deion Sanders' name or somebody who is a punt returner or kickoff returner. He had that much style and presence. And because of that, he was a largely part of the reason why we were able to win so many games.
Okay, so we played the Carolina Panthers. You played them and you beat them 30-13. Talk about winning your first championship game in your career, going to your first Super Bowl.
Well, that game was a cold game. 1996 in Green Bay. I think the temperature was somewhere around like maybe -1 degree, but with the wind chill, it felt like it was like -22, minus something like that. It was cold. And Carolina was trying to psych us up a little bit because they had no sleeves on and their players. But we knew that, hey, we play in this cold weather. You better warm up. You better do everything to stay warm because you're going to get cold. That game was a very close game in the first half. But when we got to the second half, offensively, we blew the doors wide open. And our running back, not Edgar Bennett, but I just had a brain freeze. Dorsey Levens, to me, in that game, became the hero. Dorsey Levens ran the ball extremely well, but there was a touchdown pass that Dorsey Levens caught on going towards our bench, and that back in that end zone in the scoreboard, that was outstanding. And he was caught over the cornerback pool. But that was a play that kind of turned the tide and allowed us to leapfrog into really bury the effort of the Carolina Panthers at that time. But it was a cold game. Brett played well, but I could see Dorsey Levens doing so much, and he played extremely well. And defensively, we toughened up and really tightened up in the second half, and we're able to limit what the Kerry Collins and crew, their running back, Biaka Batuka, we were able to limit what they were able to do.
Okay, so now Super Bowl for your team, Super Bowl 31, you win 35-21. Desmond Howard, I believe, was the MVP because he ran back that kickoff return, 99 yards. You played a played a very talented Patriots team. Drew Bledsoe, Curtis Martin, Keith Byers, Terry Glenn. Talk about that matchup that you won your first Super Bowl for the Packers, 35-21.
It went back and forth, and that game looked like it was going to be a back and forth game. And to your point, because Curtis
Martin.
Curtis Martin, good running back. They had great personnel, very good. Jefferson, Delano with the receivers, very good skilled personnel. Bledsoe, as you mentioned, was the quarterback. I can think of 3 plays that were significant. Well, maybe 4 plays. The kickoff return that Desmond Howard had, Reggie White sacking Drew Bledsoe 3 times, like in a row on third down situations towards the later part of the half, for sure. And Brett Favre connecting with Andre Rison. As I'm looking at it, Andre Rison running a go route to my left-hand side. Brett Favre connects to him on a go right. That kind of like put things not out of reach, but we just felt that, oh man, it looks like we're gonna do this thing. You work your entire years trying to win a Super Bowl, and it just felt like, wow, I think we're gonna beat the Patriots. And defensively, we toughened up enough that we were able to stifle things. And like I said, Reggie White, I'll tell you this story quickly, Rashad. Reggie White came to me on the sideline, and he said, man, Gene, I just feel like I can't do my thing, man. Something wrong. And I'm like, man, I feel like I just can't get off. And so me and Reggie on the sideline to pray. And I prayed a prayer that the Bible says that young men stumble and fall, but they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up on wings of eagles. They shall run and not get weary, and they will walk. They shall walk and never faint. I prayed that prayer with Reggie on the sideline. Talking about, hey, God, lift them up and give them desires of heart. Lift them up. So I prayed that on the sideline with Reggie. We go out. The critical third down play, 3rd down and 8. Bledsoe drops back. Reggie comes off the edge, and I see this play on ESPN every single time. He does that hump move, throws the tackle down, and then ends up sacking Drew Brees. So he did that 3 times like in a row. Now, 3 times in a row. Can't tell me about the power of prayer. And one, and that man was absolutely incredible friend, incredible man of God. Love that brother. God rest his soul. But those things stick out to me. And so it's not even about the games, the plays that you won. It's about the relationships that you have, people that you played with. And because I have such a relationship with a Brett, Reggie White, Leroy Butler, those things mean more to me than anything else.
Okay, so you Super Bowl champions. Now, next season, you go, the number 2 seed this time. You play a Tampa Bay team. I'm focused on the playoffs. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a young up-and-coming team led by Tony Dungy. We got Trent Dilfer at quarterback, work done. Defense, very young. Sat, Derek Brooks, and John Lynch. But you win a tough one, though, 21-7. But that game was very, very close. I'll talk about that.
Yes. Hey, that game was real close. Don't forget, they got D. Brooks, Hardy Nixon, they got Warren Sapp, they got Simeon Rice, they got some cats that who can walk. They got some dudes who can just throw down. Their defense is one of the best defenses. We always had to keep pace with. We got to keep pace with their defense. So going into that game, we had to keep pace with the defensive output that we know that Tampa Bay would produce. So we really had to limit work done, Trent Dilfer and crew, what we're going to be able to do. Mike Allstott, the tight end. We had to make sure that we got to keep points off the board, because if we don't keep points off the board, their defense is good enough to stop our offense and to keep points off the board. And so this was going to be a defensive battle in the game. We kind of knew that going in. They got cats, man, who can wobble, man. Warren Sapp is a beast, man. That dude's a beast. Trying to stop him, Simeon Rice off the edge. What? D. Brooks? Man, their secondary, they had a crew, man. Their crew was a beast. And so we knew that our defense, we got to outplay their defense. We got to outplay their defense if we're going to have a chance.
7. Now you go to San Francisco, play them again like they did the year before. This time it's in their place. They number 1 seed, the number 2 seed to win 23-10. Made an interception that game, correct if I'm wrong, as your squad win 23-10. Talk about that win in San Francisco.
That interception, Leroy Butler's blitzing. He's blitzing on to my left-hand side. I'm covering Brent Jones. I'm on the right. I'm in skinny technique, which means I'm on the outside of him. And he's going to run an in. Steve Young thought we might have been in some facsimile of cover 2, having 2 safeties back. Leroy came up, but he thought that I was a free safety and not the safety that was coming down to cover. And so he's like, oh, I may have a free thing inside because Brent Jones should end up coming free in the middle of the field. Well, I jumped down to cover. I'm covering Brent Jones. I'm on the outside of him. He breaks in. I actually hooked Brent Jones. I hooked his hip and spun around him to get in front of him. And then I said, if Steve is throwing this ball should be right here, right now. I looked up, and I was like, yep, the ball's right there, right now. So I caught the ball. I catch it. I run. I come on the side. I'm going down. I thought I was going to score a touchdown, but not to be. The lineman catches me going through the mud. I had to go through some mud, but Carlisle catches me, boom. He makes the tackle, but then on that ensuing drive, Brett Favre picks up with Antonio Freeman for the touchdown. That game, man, we went back and forth, man. That game, that interception, because prior to that interception, Antonio Freeman had ended up fumbling the ball on he got tackled and fumbled the ball, and they had a sudden change where, they looked like they're going to go ahead and move the ball and get to score position. And so that interception came off the heels of a forced fumble by their team on Antonio Freeman. And then Antonio Freeman becomes the hero because he catches the ball and makes the go-ahead score.
Okay, so you go to your second Super Bowl. You play the Denver Broncos. They're the 4th seed. This was an interesting game because at that time the NFC had won 13 consecutive, Super Bowls since 1984 to 1996, and they pulled off the upset and beat your team 31-24. Was it overconfidence against the Denver Broncos that you lost this game? Because again, the NFC was dominating the NFL for winning so many Super Bowls. Talk about that unfortunate loss.
No, that has something to do with John Elway and Terrell Davis. Man, Terrell Davis, man. A lot of the zone stretch plays that people run in college and people run, well, Denver Broncos really perfected that. And don't forget, during that game, Terrell Davis, he had migraines.
Yeah,
when he went out the game, we were winning the game. We were able to control them a little bit more because I think Derek Lavelle is a backup running back. Well, he's not running the ball. No, that's not Derek Lavelle. I forget who's the backup running back. But he's not running the ball like Terrell Davis running the ball. Terrell Davis is a different beast running the rock. So on that play, man, Terrell Davis is running that rock, man. And when he comes back in the game after they had to take care of his migraines, man, he was unstoppable. I might have had about 12 tackles that day, and I might have had 8 of them on Terrell Davis. I mean, we were going at it. I ended up having an interception in that game on I think another fumble on a kickoff return, and then on the 20-yard line. But once again, we're playing a team that runs the same offense that we run. We run the West Coast offense. Denver Broncos run that same West Coast offense. And so they get into a formation with slot receivers to one side of the field, Dino route, which is a variation of a shape that goes back to the post. Well, in any event, on this play, as it was happening, as it's going, and as Ed McCaffrey was moving me out of the middle of the field, I looked and said, hey, this is Dino White 7. I'm like, you know what? I better trust him. They're trying to beat my cornerback side. I said, if I turn right now and spin and go to where I think the ball is going on a post, a skinny bang 8, I will probably intercept the ball. I said, trust it. Just trust it. I spun. I looked at John Elway. John Elway sees me go with Ed McCaffrey. I went with Ed McCaffrey for about 1 or 2 steps, and I turned around and spun around And I said, when I looked up, I said, the ball should be right here. It should be right here. I looked up, the ball was there. I intercepted the ball, and I take it out in the end zone for about maybe 25 yards or so like that. But that play, it saved something that could have gotten potentially big because it was hard to stop the onslaught of Terrell Davis and how well the Denver Broncos were playing in that game. And then Antonio Freeman, I believe, on the couple of next plays, he ended up getting a touchdown. And then we high-fived to the side saying it kind of reminds of the San Francisco game a little bit. Yeah. But and let me just say this, that Terrell Davis ends up, they were going to score anyway, and we had to save time off the clock to get the ball back, to have a chance to even go down, to even do something. And there was a controversy like, let them score, or not score. Well, we got from our sideline the play come in, hey, don't try to tackle them. They only on the 2-yard line, so they're most likely to score anyway. Don't tackle them. But they most likely don't score anyway because we couldn't tackle them anyway. And we couldn't have time to stop with Terrell Davis anyway. So even the play that he ran that I would have ended up making a tackle on him anyway, he probably would have scored a touchdown anyway because we were right there on the goal line.
Okay, so yeah, before you lose 31-24, that game was just a seismic shift in bouncing power because now Denver Broncos will go on and win 2 Super Bowls in a row. Then like in the 2000s and 2010s, next 2 decades, AFC won 13 out of the next 20 Super Bowls during that timeline. So it was just a shift in bouncing power because the NFC is so dominant. Now the AFC is so dominant. So we talk about that. That was a big win, not just for Denver Broncos, but for the AFC as a whole.
Yeah, it was. You're right. That was a big one for the AFC because the AFC had been dominant for such a long time and really controlling the clock, those things. But we always say this, that when you get to that level in the playoffs, you can't afford to make a mistake. All right, you make a mistake, that team who you playing is too good. They will capitalize on mistakes. You get a fumble, you get an interception, you get something that you have to turn the ball over. Well, you give them that ball to that elite group of guys, they're going to score. They're going to do something. It's no different than when we saw Tampa Bay last year. There's no difference when we saw Tom Brady in the Super Bowls that he won going against the Seattle Seahawks. There's no difference. You can't make a mistake at that level. Because if you make a mistake at that level, no, the other team is too good. They're too good. Whether it's AFC or NFC, they're just too good. They're going to capitalize on whatever your mistake is. And so you got to really limit the mistakes that you make. If you don't limit the mistakes you make, you'll get blown out. If you limit the mistakes you make, the game should be a really, really close game. And that time, AFC turned the tide, and they have been able to go ahead and win a lot. Don't forget, because you got not Drew Bledsoe, but Tom Brady. New England is winning a lot. Pittsburgh, New England, they're winning a lot of those Super Bowls.
And the Colts.
And the Colts.
Baltimore.
Oh, I forgot Baltimore. That whole crew. I mean, with the exception of last year, because Tampa Bay beat Kansas City. That's right. And then Seattle lost to New England. Yeah,
Denver beat Carolina.
Oh, and exactly. Denver beat Carolina, and that was doing the broadcast for the Carolina Panthers that game. They're broadcasting, and I was broadcasting for them. And what I remember in that game is Von Miller being explosive, man. Couldn't stop Von Miller. And still, the NFC had a chances to win the game. Cam Newton, there was a couple of plays that Cam Newton hooked up with Jericho Country, that the ball was actually dropped. That would have changed the whole narrative of that game. But once again, you can't have those mistakes. You have a mistake like that, you ain't winning no Super Bowl.
Okay, so let's move forward to, that was your last game, and now you signed with the Falcons. But what went wrong with the Packers not retaining you and you going to the Falcons?
Oh, they had a young man that was extremely good, and a kid named Darren Sharper, out of William and Mary.
Okay.
When he came to Green Bay, that first year that I played with him, I was like, oh, dude, you'll be he's playing my position. So that year on that Super Bowl run, Darren Sharper is kind of he's my backup, but not really, because he's that good. And I said, man, I told D. Sharp, I said, dude, I wouldn't be surprised if you lead the league in interceptions, or if you have a chance to have more interceptions than anybody in the league. Well, he won't get to 81 interceptions, but he can get to close to 70, which is I have to ask my wife that. What's the dude who used to play for Pittsburgh? Quarterback, light skinned quarterback.
Rod Woodson.
Was that? Yeah, Rod Woodson. Yeah, Rod Woodson. Rod Woodson has like 70 interceptions. Well, Darren Sharper had a chance to go ahead and eclipse Rod Woodson because he was just that good and was always, when he played in Green Bay or was in New Orleans, he was always around the ball and always getting interceptions. So me not being there, that's just a sign of the times that, hey, you get to play where you play for a while and then you got to move on. You do it so long you can enjoy it, then you move on. No hard feeling because that's the football league. Average year is 3.5. I got to play 16.
Yeah. Okay, so go to Atlanta. Did you envision, in late July training camp that the Falcons go 14-2 and go to the Super Bowl? Did you envision that, training camp in '98 during that summer?
They had a really good offense, but when I got there, I didn't know how good their defense was, and their defense was really good. Jesse Tuggle, one of the best middle linebackers, man. We ran a 3-4 system. No, we ran a 4-3, and we had Chuck Smith, Shane Clement, Les Archibald, and I'm forgetting the other defensive tackle. My point is, we had a really good crew, but I didn't know how good they were defensively. I didn't know. They had a super duper star in Ray Buchanan, who played cornerback, excellent cornerback. Will, what's his name? I'm drawing blank on Will's last name.
Last name White.
The other safety, who's that?
White.
William White, yeah, William White. William White has ALS right now too, as a matter of fact. So my buddy William White. The point was the defense. I didn't know how good they were, and we were really, really good. But offensively, Jamal Anderson, that whole crew, they were extremely good. And Chris Chandler was able to put a lot. That year, he was able to put a lot of points on the board. Terrence Mathis. We had offensively, we were a really good offensive gentleman. And they were really, really good. But defensively, nobody knew how good we were defensively because our offense got all the sizzle and all the things.
Okay, so I want to fast forward to the playoff game against San Francisco. Now, obviously, you was familiar with San Francisco, with the Packers. You played them, a few times, so now you're playing them again. Talk about that win against them, in 2018 at the Georgia Dome.
Yeah, there was one play that was really significant. That I happened to be on this play. They come out and they're on like maybe the 20-yard line, trying to get ready to score. They're about to get into the red zone, get ready to score. They line up in slot formation. I think they motion Terrell to the other side. So his backside is nothing but Jerry Rice and my corner, or Roddy Brett. And as I recognized the formation and recognized what they were getting ready to do, I just felt that they were going to run a post with Jerry Rice, a skinny post, not to bring the safety into it. And I also thought that Steve Young thought I was going to go more to the middle of the field. Well, I didn't go more to the middle of the field. I kind of hovered where I was at. I was like, you know what? They're going to throw this ball to Jerry. And I just trusted my instinct. I knew that they were going to Jerry Rice for the post. I broke in front of Jerry Rice, in front of the ball. I'm the safety coming from inside out. My corner's behind him. And so I catch the ball where Jerry would normally up winning that game on that play. Well, not on that play only, but that was one of the pivotal plays in that game.
Move on to the NFC Championship game. We played the Vikings. That was a big upset because the Vikings had the league's highest scoring offense. It was 15-1. They had Cunningham, Moss, obviously was doing his thing. Carter, Robert Smith, Jake Reed, Matthew Hatchett, and Glover. Talk about that win because that was a huge win for your squad. And I think the turning point was Gary Anderson missing that field goal. Because I think he missed the field goal that whole season. Talk about that. He was able to come back and score. He tied the game up 27 to win in overtime, 30-27.
Gary Anderson, you're right. Gary Anderson missed that field goal. That game went back and forth. We knew that, I think at that year, if I'm not mistaken, they scored almost 35 to 38 points a game. They were like the offensive juggernaut that year. Nobody could stop them offensively. And so we knew defensively, we said going into that game, if we can hold these cats to like 24 points, somewhere around 24 points, our offense is good enough to score 27, 30 points on them. We have to hold them. We can't let them get 30-something points. If they get 30-something points, we're not going to win this game. But if we can hold them to 20-something points, we have a chance. We went back and forth, and we were able to hold them 20-something points. And the quarterback was Randall Cunningham. We know that the deep threat was, of course, Randy Moss. We had a hard time containing Randy Moss. Our defense did a better job of stopping Robert Smith running the ball. I mean, we were able to not control them. We just didn't let it get out of hand. So we kept it manageable. And so, what was the final score of that game?
30-27 overtime. 30-27.
So 30-27, it was overtime, 30-27. But once again, they were scoring like 38 points. And so we kept it to where it was. And then, as you mentioned, the most pivotal play was Gary Anderson getting ready for a 29-yard or maybe a 39-yard field goal. Hadn't missed a field goal all year. He misses it wide right, I believe. And boom. That we go into overtime, and then I'm more Anderson. He gets up to kick a field goal off a play that we stopped him on a critical third down on a bomb, going to Randy Moss to get him knocking down the ball. And then we end up stopping him at that play, and we get into field goal range, and he kicks a field goal to win the game, to send us to the Super Bowl. It was crazy exhilarating, and it was well deserved from a hard-fought season and from a team that they were explosive, man. They got Chris Carter on that team. They got the other receiver Reed. They got Randy Moss, Robert Smith. Man, they had a crew, man. And defensively, one of my favorite safeties, contemporaries, is Robert Griffin. And he knocked a hole in your body, man. They had cats, man, who could just play some ball. The offensive line was good. The defensive front was very, very good. So yeah, we had our hands full, and we ended up coming out on top of that game.
Okay, so you go to the Super Bowl, you play Denver Broncos. Personally, it was your third straight Super Bowl in a row, so you know doing well as far as getting to the Super Bowl and the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, you lose 34-19. Unfortunately, there was some lapse in judgment the day before the Super Bowl by yourself. You received an award, Star Award. Talk about what went wrong. Why did that mistake happen? Before the Super Bowl, because you had the experience on what it takes to win the Super Bowl and not deal with distractions. The outside distraction. But what went wrong in that situation prior to Super Bowl 33?
What went wrong is getting ahead of myself, getting ahead of my faith, getting ahead of my family, really getting ahead of me. Now commitments, not only to the team, my family, this and that, but um, I feel bad for my part because as one of the leaders of the team, that's the easier thing for me to do is to make sure I'm in doing all the stuff that's required, which I've done my entire career. But I look no further. I don't blame anyone. I point my fingers right at me. All right. So when I look at the players I played with during that time, I'm like, hey, I've always asked their forgiveness and say, hey man, forgive me for my stupidity and for me being selfish and for me getting in the way of what's more important, which is football. Now, with that said, my mom, my dad, first of all, my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, my wife, my kids, my mom, my dad, all that. I learned a huge life lesson of, man, stay under the arms and protection of what I had, which is the Lord Jesus Christ, instead of going on my own. Because of that, I didn't play my best game at all. Not one thing. I didn't play my best game. And I know it's a collective effort. I know that it's a team sport. But I know that I'm a big major cog in that. And I did not play my best game. Why did I not play my best game? Because of me and because I ended up getting arrested. So that, unfortunately, is a sour taste that God used to not only humble me, but to keep me focused on what's important in life. Because football is important, but football's not really important. But it's important. But what's important? My wife and my kids are important. My mom and my dad are important. Yeah, my teammates are important. My Lord and Savior Jesus Christ is important. And because of that, I forgot what was important. But I won't make that mistake again. I'm finding out what's important.
Okay, so before you lose that Super Bowl 34-19, you play one more year with the Falcons. You go to the Carolina Panthers, you finish your career 16 years, and 57 interceptions. You consider yourself a Hall of Famer because you got 57 interceptions, 22 from recoveries, 2 touchdowns, 7.5 sacks. Those 57 interceptions have been exceeded by just 11 players, 4 of whom are in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. You look back on your career and say, man, I should be considered a Hall of Famer, or you just content with the journey that you took from being undrafted to where you will go moving forward. Talk about that.
The Hall of Fame stuff, honors, is not up to you. I mean, you better put out your work on what you do, but I don't vote. I don't vote for Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, players don't vote for Hall of Fame. Sports writers do.
Yes.
Now, if you're asking me about my career, I'm a free agent, so I'm not a draft pick. I'm not a number 1 draft pick. I'm not any draft pick. But if you look at my numbers are comparable. I got over 1,400 something tackles. I'm like 8th all time or 7th all time of anybody who's ever made a tackle in the National Football League. I'm up there. So my stats, yes. And I think in 2008, 2009, I was nominated for the Hall of Fame. So I did get a mention, hey, that you first get put in a big pool, and they go from like X amount of athletes to they keep narrowing it down. Well, I got put in that big pool to be nominated. So thank you. I appreciate that. That's great. So when I look at my how I played, what I've done, yeah. Could it be considered Hall of Fame worthy? Yeah, absolutely. Once again, I don't make those calls. I don't make those decisions. Am I content? I'm absolutely content. I'm content where what God has done in my life and the ability to play for all these years and the ability to, even after I finished playing, to be still somewhat connected to football by doing broadcasting and all the other stuff that I've been able to do. So I'm excited that I've been able to do what God has put out in front of me and raise my kids, have my family, all the stuff that I've been able to get to do. So yeah, my numbers are more than, yeah, they're definitely Hall of Fame worthy. Absolutely. But I don't make that decision, and even if I don't, Lord, thank you, Jesus, for the opportunity that I had to go ahead and play this beautiful game of football and play it for such a very, very long time. That you allowed me to take care of my family, take care of my extended family with football. So, Lord, I appreciate what you've done, because when I'm done, it's not the football games that I play, but it's people I touch with the Lord Jesus Christ.
Okay, man. Thank you for your time, man. Obviously, there were technical difficulties. Thank you for being patient. Thank you for coming on Rashad with the show. Thank you, Eugene Robinson. Thank you so much.
No doubt, bro. I appreciate the thank you for having me on the show, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that's Eugene Robinson.